Welcome back to Tomb Raider Legend. Now, if you followed my instructions and hit continue instead of quit at the level results screen, you get this little menu. You can actually change the difficulty in between levels, which I think is pretty neat.
All right, who was that?
You've heard of the Rutlands, right? From the States? Well, you just met the senator's youngest son, James Rutland. Went to West Point and...
Now,
Call up the footage.
here's my dumb cutscene question. Is this related to the villain from the Survivor trilogy?
No.
It's almost
Each of the three continuities, I mean, there's callbacks.
To what?
something I saw a long time ago in Nepal, miles from any pre-Incan culture.
And you believe this to be a fragment of the sword?
What sword?
More likely another of its kind. Zip, I want you to find out what you can about this Rutland, particularly where he is at the moment.
Try Peru. You talked about Paraíso.
He did imply there's information about the artifacts there.
He said you've been to Paraíso. What happened there? And who's Amanda?
Alistair, go over these images and see what you can work out. Zip, ring Anaya and see if she can meet me in Paraíso Saturday morning.
Alistair, I would say that we don't pay you to stand there and ask questions, except we actually kind of do.
Exposition, boy!
Good old classic Peru, looking straight out of a spaghetti western.
I seem to have found myself in Resident Evil 5.
Well, hey, you're the one with the guns.
You can't blame me for knowing how to accessorize. A word from Anaya.
Now, of course, I can't make that the thumbnail because it's aligned to the left, and it would look weird if I flipped the perspective. So, welcome to this little beginner area. Essentially, this is a combat tutorial, and we have, in fact, a combat dummy directly across here. His only purpose is to practice human combat.
So now we're getting the tutorial.
Yeah. This is just for some basic stuff. Most of this stuff is new. It does work on the out-of-range reticle system that Dead to Rights had. I'm realizing now just how much of this combat system is very similar to that game. And, well, there's another thing. You know what else was popular in the 2000s? Bullet time.
Oh!
That move is actually called adrenaline. You specifically have to vault off of an enemy in order to activate it. So, again, think of it like table hoppers in Devil May Cry.
Okay.
That's something I could move.
Very observational, Lara. Good job. That's what a football is for. Now, this football is here for a reason. That's not how you play football, Lara.
This is absolutely an early 2000s-ish game.
But hey, that thing over there kind of looks like a net, so let's kick it in there. I did not add that in. That is an Easter egg in the game.
Wow.
Also, that freak out I just did over there, Lara has a combat roll, which will go into like a series of gymnastics if you keep mashing the button. So this is 2006. We're not quite at the era of AAA games having incredibly detailed textures that you could just stare at for hours, but we're getting close.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look too bad.
It was kind of hard to hear it, but you could actually hear everyone around us, all the civilians in this village, closing their doors. They know the white lady's coming.
Oh, God.
So we're now in Peru instead of Bolivia, so the artifacts that we can pick up as collectibles remain. However, they have now changed to fit the area. That is, I don't think it's actually based on anything specific, but it is a type of steel for, you know, it's in Incan cultures as well as some other ancient cultures. Essentially, it's like a monument with pictures, symbols, occasionally some text on it.
Sure.
And just for context, the site that we're at, El Paraíso, it's like a few kilometers north of Lima, the capital of Peru. The briefing mentioned someone named Anaya, and that's her. She's waiting for us.
Hello, Lara. You realize that the streets were not deserted a moment ago.
And I've been trying so hard to blend in. I hope I'm the one that frightens them and not something else.
There's nothing here. Just a heap of pottery shards, littered with the bodies of old friends.
This is an oddly somber speech for a Tomb Raider game.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, we're not quite at the level that the Survivor trilogy was, where Lara was openly having PTSD about having to kill guys, but again, you can see that step between classic Lara and this.
She's over there!
Zip, get an eye on herself. Tell her I'll find her when I've sorted out this lot.
You got it.
Again, this is a nice, big, open area that really shows off just how restrictive the targeting can be sometimes. On the other hand, adrenaline mode is really sweet. It's very fun, and I'm pretty sure that all three in this trilogy of the first Crystal Dynamics trilogy has some version of that.
Very classic set pieces. Oh.
Yeah, and speaking of Devil May Cry, you can also roll into enemies. You cannot juggle them, but you can get close. You can still shoot them while they're flailing around in midair. Shotguns are pretty fun once we get them. It's just that there is very limited ammo, like even compared to your average video game shotgun. It's almost like it almost treats it like a sawn-off shotgun in terms of ammo restriction and power.
You don't use the power weapons that often.
Yeah. And just like the ropes on the bridge, zip lines. They also had to use that force perspective trick, which breaks. I don't know if it breaks because it's in 16:9 or it has something to do with the engine. But it was certainly a trick that worked on the older gen consoles, but it doesn't on PC. Like I've seen YouTube videos from like 2009 where, it's the PC version and it still works like that. This is not a new machine problem.
It's just kind of broken out of the box and they never fixed it.
Yeah. I am using some patches, but those are actually just fan patches to make sure that you can play the entire game with the next generation content. Because it's 2 levels from now. At the very start, there is one section that will crash 100% of the time if you try to use this pack like out of the box, or what you get on Steam. Don't you hate it when you try to kick open a door dramatically and it just opens the other way?
There's a little bit of jank in this, I'm noticing.
So the bad news is the shotgun is kind of contextual. The good news is that one of those contexts is going to happen in about 5 seconds.
Oh, that's brutal.
Yeah, guns do have limited ammo, but they also reload on their own, which is nice. You just don't use it for a while. Now, I'm not joking. This is one of the hardest fights in the game. I spent ages practicing this, and then when I got to my recording, I somehow got it on the first try. I have no idea how I managed that. So as you saw there, one of the advantages... Oh, also... you can use your magnetic grapple in the middle of a fight. Most of the time, enemies, at least on hard, enemies won't die if you just let them go through fall damage. But if you shoot them at the same time, they usually die. Really, that machine gunner would be a much bigger problem if it hadn't been for that context-sensitive piece of machinery there.
The transformer falling on him. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you were mentioning Resident Evil 5 earlier, and I seem to remember, like in the first big combat map of that game, there was also a transformer you could shoot down.
I seem to recall that as well, but I forget where it was.
And of course, this game came out several years after Halo, so grenades have their own mappable throw button. Grenades are really deadly, especially when the enemy uses them.
Oh, look!
I sense a change in gameplay style.
Oh, please let there be a motorcycle sequence.
Now, I would not recommend using the turret. The way the enemies are placed here, it does not bode well. Although there is one guy who always spawns here as soon as you go on the turret, so you can at least get that one kill. Health packs. I just used a health pack there. They work exactly as they do in the classic games, except instead of having to go to a menu, you could just press up on the D-pad, and I mean, it was instant anyway. Just
yeah,
there was an extra menu before.
Naya called on her cell. She's got mercenaries after her.
Tell her I'm on my way.
Right.
Welcome to the one part of the game that everybody hates. The Tomb Raider fandom is very much not a consensus, but I find very, very few people who will ever defend the motorcycle sequences in Tomb Raider Legend. They're slippery. It's very hard to control, and I mean, yeah, there's looping environments, but that's kind of understandable given the restrictions of the time.
Sure.
It's even worse when you're playing on hard because there really is no way to avoid damage most of the time. It really is just an exchange of holding down the fire button and hoping that their health bar is empty before we do.
Fireworks in Peru! I love it! There's the first one.
Honestly, the best thing I can say about the motorcycle sequences in this game is that there are only 2 of them. Apparently a third was planned, but it was cut, and I'm glad they cut it.
So let me ask you this. Better or worse than the motorcycle sequence in Crash Bandicoot?
Well, I mean, it's very different. For one thing, that was purely a race. It had different intentions. Sure. I would say that, like, in Crash, in both the original Crash 3 and the version from the Insane trilogy, like, it turned poorly on purpose. Like, the whole idea is that when you do a wheelie, you're trading off control for speed.
Sure.
There's no way to control your speed. There are ways to accidentally slow down and probably crash into a bit of geometry that you couldn't see coming. But this is, for all intents and purposes, an auto-scroller, and an inconsistent auto-scroller at that.
So you're not applying throttle, Laura is just going.
No, that is correct. I think there might be a very small amount of difference between holding forward or holding W versus regularly coasting, but it's incidental, and it's still like, I mean, this kind of road rash gameplay was never meant to be gun focused anyway.
Punch it, Laura.
So you did not, in fact, punch anything, and you still made the jump. So this is...
Yeah, it's like I said. This was here to add another back of the box feature.
It's a set piece. It's big and it's dumb and it's not exceptionally fun, but it's somewhat serviceable.
Like I think the second one of these is significantly worse. This one, at least, you know, there's a breezy pace to it, and you have enough open environment that you can kind of manage things. But it is at best it is a harmless time waster. At worst, you get the other motorcycle level that happens, I think, in 2 or 3 videos. You don't really notice it here because I've been trying to play as well as I can, but you do eventually notice certain distinct environmental subjects. Lara's bike, by the way, that is also real. That is it's a Ducati. She rides exclusively Ducatis in this game. This is a Ducati Monster.
Interesting, because I was trying to catch the brand on the side.
Yeah, in the original games, she drove Norton motorcycles, which is one of the more famous British motorcycle brands. So the truck that we just jumped onto, not real. It's a model made. On the other hand, Anaya's car is a Jeep Wrangler.
They're kind of loving their Jeep product placement here.
Yeah, I actually discovered that there was a pre-existing brand deal between Jeep and Paramount for the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider movies. It's possible that this was just extended to the intellectual property. Jeep.
Jeep. That would track, yeah.
It hasn't changed much. What are a few years after all, when stacked atop thousands more?
There's something I didn't tell you before. I think Amanda might not have died down there.
Is that what this is about? Closure?
Isn't that what it's all about? Why we dig up the past? To understand it?
Wow, that's
I
deep,
am an
man.
engineer, Lara. I build for the future. I don't dwell in the past.
You will someday.
That was way too deep for an engineer.
Everyone does.
Are you ready for a playable flashback?
Oh, I live for these.
Lara! Get down here, you slacker! Jason says we're about to break through.
In a minute, Amanda. We have some structural concerns.
Would you just get down here? Did the rope break? Looks like we've lost the lights. I hope you brought flares.
Flares are not a new gameplay mechanic. They've been around since Tomb Raider 2. I never really found much use for them, aside from showing off the lighting tech that was in Core Design's early PlayStation engine. But they just exist to be cool, and now we can physics them. They can roll down slopes.
Yay!
Thanks over the sinkhole broke, so you're gonna have to swing across.
I don't know exactly how far back this is supposed to take place, like a couple years maybe. But again, this flashback level, no combat whatsoever. It is entirely puzzle platformer based. I guess this was meant to throw the original fans a bone who kind of missed the older Tomb levels, even though those had lots of combat as well, but... Okay, so maybe there is some combat. Lara's just not involved.
Can you hear me? Amanda!
I don't know what guns are yet. All I could do is ineffectively throw flares at you. Does that help?
Please tell me you have an unlimited stock of flares.
Oh yeah, of course. You always have.
Oh, Sarah. Oh, God. What's happened?
Oh no, Sarah, that beloved character we spent so much time with.
Oh, Sarah, my heart will go on.
Yeah, all of Lara's friends in this sequence just exist to be killed off. But the question isn't whether they'll be killed off, it's who is killing them off or what. This jump right here, this isn't Sarah's name. This one's for you, girl.
10 out of 10.
I'll be honest, I really didn't use the flares that much when I played this game casually, like 10, 15 years ago. Whenever I do Let's Plays, I try to find as many uses for obscure mechanics anytime I can. And I'll admit, the lighting is very pretty.
Over here!
Kent? What's going on?
There's only so much you can do with flares.
What did?
I don't know. I didn't see. This gate won't budge. Get me out.
It's all right.
Plot twist. The plane from the opening cutscene survived and it's been stalking her for her entire life.
You know, that would fit the idea of a sentient plane out for revenge. That would fit some of the schlocky elements of the kinds of media that inspired Tomb Raider.
It's coming. Damn it, Lara.
I'm almost there.
Damn scripted event. Gonna kill Kent.
Hey, I think I see a light.
Stay there, Kent. I'm coming down.
You've seen many lights. I've been throwing flares this whole time.
Amanda! It's her!
Wait! Kent!
Now, when I was younger, I got very confused with this section because this is, aside from the opening helicopter chase, this is the only time where you're expected, or no, since the helicopter chase, it's been the first time that you've been expected to actually control Lara during an extended camera sequence like this.
Yeah, no, that's a little freaky, yeah.
Like, that kind of, cinematic video game trope has been around for forever now, but it was still a new idea when this game was new. Lara also does not have her flashlight yet, so the flares can help light up the room in that regard. I guess the point was to try and make younger Lara feel a bit more vulnerable.
Yeah, this is college Lara before she could afford all this shit.
Everybody's dead.
There's something. I don't know what it was. I only saw.
If you were to tweak the tone a bit, add some unnecessary comedy sketches and a few gratuitous sex scenes, you have a pretty good slasher comedy out of this. So that thing, whatever it was that's been attacking our friends, probably the closest thing to like a recurring antagonist in this game. Like we've met James Rutland already. He's kind of mean, but I don't know. He's not really a threat. He's just some military brat with money.
Yeah.
And as you can see there, the transparency on some of the next-gen textures is a bit borked. But don't worry, next video, we will be seeing some of the real problems with the way that the next-gen patch has been implemented.
Amanda!
I think this stone unlocks the door.
I don't like it. Are you sure you're reading it properly?
That thing is coming. You have a better idea?
The door might be trapped.
We're trapped. Oh, God!
So in terms of like antagonists in Tomb Raider games, we have a couple of options. Like usually you see, every so often there's a monster like the one that we're seeing here. But then you also have non-British Europeans, evil non-British Europeans. Then you have evil Americans. And then occasionally you get conventionally attractive young women, probably those who were like Lara's friends earlier in her life.
I mean, unless the airplane gets her, but
No, this is like Lara's college roommate or something. Apparently, we're supposed to feel sad in this scene. But mostly, I'm just impressed of Lara's ability to emote so well while she's underwater and presumably drowning.
lung capacity is amazing.
Yeah, she's got some Threepwood blood in her.
To be perfectly honest, I think this is a terrible idea. Everyone agreed to leave things as they were.
I will as much as I can. But from what Rutland said, I'm sure there's a clue down there about what killed my mother. I have to go back.
There's no use trying to enter at the same
So,
point.
you see,
It's caved in.
in this trilogy,
River had to get in
Lara
there
has unresolved issues about her mother's mysterious death. But then in the Survivor trilogy, Lara has mysterious has issues
If there's any
about
trouble,
her
call
father's
me, I'll
mysterious
protect you.
unresolved death.
Don't take any chances. I'm not losing any more.
I mean, where else can you take the character from there?
So, how you getting in?
The same way as the water, I hope. If you get a call from Anaya, patch her through straight away. I'm a little concerned about leaving her by herself.
I'll keep her company.
Even when there's two characters who are women, one of them has to be the damsel. Apparently.
Yeah.
So, in the flashback scene that we just finished, it ended with the entire excavation site being covered in water. And that's going to affect our ability to go through it now in the present day. You know, every Tomb Raider has at least one big underwater level, or at least a sequence that is mostly underwater.
Horrible underwater sequence, yeah.
This one, I mean, first of all, the swimming controls are pretty good, but there are also some concessions and quality of life things which some of the classic games, but not all of them, had as well. Things like there are certain actions like, you know, interacting with things where the oxygen meter will be temporarily disabled, stuff like that. And also just having an oxygen meter at all. We are not quite yet at the days where games will determine your oxygen by slowly removing all the color from your screen. So we have these, again, these mysterious orbs, the ones that Amanda was trying to push.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna have to push those, and of course it's a timed challenge, so we got to do that quickly. It's actually quite generous.
And like you said, the O2 meter is disabled while you're doing this.
Yeah, for that brief period. Not relating to the O2 meter, but rather infamously, in most of the classic Tomb Raiders, Lara remained vulnerable to enemy attacks while she pulled switches.
Oh.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like you'd be in St. Francis Folly or something, and Lara would take her sweet ass time trying to pull a lever while a bunch of bats are around her nicking away at her health bar.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, it actually did something.
Let's go find a corpse.
Is that what I think it is? It's called an anachronism.
Anachronism is like a British brand for a shoe or something. I don't know where I was going with that joke.
Been unlaced. I never imagined she could have survived.
There was a lot of water. She still might not have.
Way to be an optimist, Alistair. Good job.
That's British optimism right there.
Alistair, I mean, this is 2006, so it's a bit too early for the archetype, but Alistair strikes me as the kind of guy who hangs around a lot in the Our Atheism subreddit.
Oh.
And has memorized every Christopher Hitchens book, probably reads a chapter of God is Not Great before going to sleep every night. That's the vibe I get from him.
Last queen of Tiwanaku. Her father was king, but she was lost and raised by a warrior. She became queen after a shaman named Tunupa discovered her royal heritage.
Tanupa is another name for Viracocha, their god of creation.
The shaman brought her to Lake Titicaca, where she borrowed his staff, an object of great power.
According to myth, Viracocha originally lived in the lake.
The god of indoor plumbing.
She led her people into a
I mean,
era of
plumbers
peace.
need representation
Many years
too.
of
Why not have a
wars
god
and
for
just
them?
rule, there was some sort of
Oh wait, that god is Mario. Never mind.
and she was carried off in a boat to paradise.
Remind you of something?
The King Arthur myth. Yes, the similarities are striking.
King Arthur? A little help here?
It's the same
Zip,
story. A
how
youth
are you this
unaware of his
stupid?
royal blood rises
Zip has
to
other
the
talents, and I'm hoping
and
eventually we
once
find out what they
with the
are.
help of a friendly wizard and his magical staff or sword, and afterwards he's transported to paradise.
Many cultures share similar legends. The Great Flood, for example. Everyone's got that one too.
If this game could be said to have a theme, which you know, I'm gonna be generous and say that it does. That theme is monomyth, the idea that cultures share origin stories and other basic stories about how the world came to be and what our earliest ancestors did. This idea will be returned to several times, particularly the idea that King Arthur is a monomyth.
Once again, Tomb Raider makes up the history as they go along.
Laura, get out of there!
I love these really early QuickTime events where they hadn't quite figured out how the animation was supposed to work.
Yeah.
Nice footwork.
Why, thank you.
Wow, this place is amazing. Might be a good place to use the rad mode of your binoculars.
You could be right.
Again, Zip is a recurring character archetype in the games that I've chosen for my channel, which is people who are trying to Let's Play in my place.
Who's the professional here, Zip?
That's something I could move.
So, interesting thing about Zip, in Tomb Raider Chronicles, there was a character named Zip, who was also black, and also American, and also served as radio support for Lara in, like, some of the later stages of that game. But as far as I know, they are not the same character. Zip is... Zip in Chronicles, let's just say, is a lot more of what a British person's idea of a black American is.
Switch rooms. Easy to say from the ground floor. Wouldn't you agree?
Come on now, stiff upper lip, top hole and all that. Time to get hip with Zip.
And I'll just leave it at that.
I like that one.
It was nice, but it was in the way.
Now, if ever there was a capital P physics puzzle, this is it. We are going to be manipulating these balls in every which way you can.
Wow.
Did you hear that, kids? That was Gabe Newell heavy breathing.
You don't actually need to climb all the way up here because of how the physics work. If you time a perfectly thrown grenade, you can throw it all the way up to the top there, and the force of the explosion will cause the boulder to come down. However, that is not something that you could do on the GameCube version, specifically the GameCube version. Can you think of why that would be?
I'm gonna go ahead and guess frame rate.
No, it has... Well, think of the controller, right?
Oh.
The GameCube controller does not have 4 shoulder buttons. So they had to get rid of the command that lets you, when in the third-person over-the-shoulder mode, you can no longer throw a grenade on GameCube from that particular viewpoint, which is the only way you can line up the grenade to do that trick.
Oh.
And since this is also the big puzzle of the level, this is where the gold artifact is. Although we actually have to wait until the next big checkpoint after we've solved it in order to get the artifact.
Oh, it's another one of those light puzzles that I love so much.
I mean, as light puzzles go, this one is pretty straightforward.
The Queen's Shaman. A dais with a sword set into it, or in this case, Viracocha's staff. This is it.
Do you believe it's the same one we saw in Tiwanaku?
There's more than just one.
Well, that's how these stories tend to work, yeah.
So the shaman would be Merlin, and the staff would be whatever the hell King Arthur's sword was called.
It's called coincidence.
Funny name for a sword.
You know, as much shit as I talk about Zip, that was a genuinely funny joke. Well done. Huh. This is the only time you can really see that, whatever that is, from that angle, because you take one step forward and the next cutscene triggers.
Interesting.
Look at her. She's beautiful. We were so close before. So close.
Wonderful, Lara.
Do you notice anything familiar about her sword?
That's what Rutland was holding.
Except this is just a ceremonial copy. And what do we have here?
Rutland would be the kind of guy to accidentally buy the ceremonial copy of fake Excalibur for like $30 million and then show it off as like an ornament on his coffee table.
I've seen this before. At Waseda University in Japan.
It's just in his golf bag when he goes out to play the back nine.
Oh yeah. That is not a standard regulation putter, Mr. Rutland. I don't care if your father owns the golf course.
I don't care, Zip. I want that piece.
Oh, by the way, we're going to Japan next level.
Okay, but hang on. I got Anaya calling on her cell. I'm patching her through.
Lara, can you hear me? Those bastards from town are here, and they're coming down after you.
Well, this is a tomb. I'll make them feel at home.
I guess this might be a good time to talk about Lara's voice actress. The character of Lara Croft has basically never had a consistent voice actress ever throughout any version of the series, really.
It's alright. Just let me know if our mercenary friends get any closer to her.
Got it.
So in the Crystal Dynamics trilogy, or in the first trilogy, she is voiced by Keely Hawes. She's, you know, a character actor mostly known for stuff on the BBC. There was a police drama called Spooks that she was one of the main characters for the first 2 seasons of that.
God's sake, why won't you just believe me, eh?
Because it's what just happened, Will. It just happened.
Well, I don't know what's just happened, and I don't know how it did, but...
No, but Will, my life, okay, my life, my whole life, everything I've dreamt of, everything I've worked towards, depends on people I trust, not telling things. I can't ever trust you again.
I think she was also on one episode of Doctor Who. I want to say it was during the Peter Capaldi era of Doctor Who, for what that's worth.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's old.
We're talking about a series that goes back to the 1960s. Even if you exclude the 20 years of cancellation, that's... The Capaldi era Doctor Who is not old. So we could, if we wanted, go straight over to Rutland's men and fight them right away. However, we still need to pick up the gold artifact.
Oh.
I really like this rope. It is a fantastic 2D model, which I didn't even realize was 2D until I really looked hard at it.
was very well done. I was convinced it was 3D.
And it looks even better, like on PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. That thing's damn seamless. So here's how we're getting the other gold artifacts, because we need another ball. Because there is actually a secret compartment in the that dais in the middle where the light reflects. There is there's like a hidden trick bottom, I suppose.
Oh, so there's a fourth trigger.
Yeah. Yeah, and the only way that we can activate that trigger is to take the extra boulder and put it on the middle switch. Come on, Lara. There we go. Depending on the angle and depending on whether you're using the over-the-shoulder view, it can actually be easier to control the boulders by shooting them instead of rolling them around. There we go. Okay. I think Rutland's men have waited long enough. You know, their families need to live off of their life insurance that we're about to give them. So this is another enemy conversation coming up here, and I really love the way that the animation bugs out during this sequence.
I don't see it. You? Think she fell down there? Maybe we got lucky. I haven't had any luck today. How's the knee? How's my
What the hell?
I wasn't the one who tripped. And I wasn't the one who couldn't hold on to the damn rope.
I think it's obvious that Crystal Dynamics intended for players to be platforming during the sequence and not really paying attention to the animations. Like, if you're more focused on jumping around, of course you're not going to recognize that that guy's freaking out over there. Anyway, let's make our entrance.
Whee!
Now, there is an unfortunate wrinkle to the way that the adrenaline mode works. There are two different animations. Two possible animations depending on your position relative to the enemy. Oh, also you can kick them with the Y button. Same button you use to kick around small rocks. So there's two different animations. And in one of them, Lara leaps forward like she's doing a dive.
From either of them. Maybe the radios are off. They're sleeping. They're taking a dirt nap. Go find out. What about you? Just do it, Miller, and stop whining for once.
Yeah, Miller.
So there are two different animations. One of them, Lara does like a dive, where during that dive, she could kill the enemy that you've targeted while starting the adrenaline. Now that is the second animation where she actually kind of leaps backward off of the guy. And in that one, you can actually target multiple enemies and kill them during the adrenaline time. But if you get that first animation, where Lara does the forward dive, she can't target any of the other enemies. So it really is a roll of the dice.
Sure.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think you're more likely to get the more beneficial animation if you're holding like an assault rifle or a shotgun or an SMG instead of Lara's dual pistols. But I don't know for sure. It's just a feeling I have.
I'm surprised there's not a unique one for each weapon, but 2006.
I mean, it's kind of in terms of the way that Lara interacts with the weapons, sort of, but I mean, the base is still the same.
Oh.
Melee is also kind of weird. You have to be locked on to use melee. And it's very easy for the enemies to interrupt Lara's animations with their own. This is a really long rope.
I've seen a panther, I think. It's hard to tell.
Jaguar. They don't have panthers down here.
Jaguar, then. Whatever. I saw a damn...
Jaguar, Panther, Lynx. I love all those Atari consoles.
None of those names were scientific.
Stealth doesn't really exist mechanically in this game. I mean, you can ambush enemies, but that's about it. And even then, Like, I don't know. I just think they have an aggro ring around them that is always active as long as Lara is, like, right nearby them. Some Tomb Raider games earlier did experiment with stealth to mixed results. I mean, the problem is that, I mean, I am not exactly an expert, and that's an example of how deadly grenades can be, especially on hard. I am not exactly an expert on the classic Tomb Raider series. Unlike Crash Bandicoot, I did not grow up with these games, so I would not call myself an expert on them in the same way they would with Crash. But from what I have researched, it definitely feels like Core Design, the original developers of the classic Tomb Raiders, very quickly got sick and tired of this series, especially because IDOS were pushing them to make this a yearly franchise. So their attempts to spice up the gameplay, I mean, sometimes it worked, but most of the time it was kind of iffy.
Functional stealth does make its return in the Survivor series, but I air quotes functional.
The Survivor trilogy was also just as much of a complete gameplay overhaul as this was to the classics.
Tell her to get under the Jeep. Someone's coming.
Thank God I could actually say Jeep without getting sued.
Jeep.
It's just such a good word to say. And that's an enemy that has artificially inflated health.
Hope you found what you were looking for.
For no reason other than to be dramatic, I guess.
I was right. This is all she left behind.
She got out and
somewhere Amanda is out there. We have to give her her other shoe back.
Maybe not hiding.
Think about it. In the years since she was trapped in there, about how horrible her posture has become, when she only has one shoe on.
She wanted to keep Zip, did you speak to Takamoto?
Eventually. He didn't want to see you, so I reminded him how much you hate the word no.
I'm a horrible conversationalist. I trust he wants to get together on neutral ground.
You'll love this. He wants to meet at Toru Nishimura's offices across the street from his penthouse.
Nishimura? Takamoto doesn't know we're friends.
Nope. All he knows is Nishimura's hosting a corporate party tomorrow night, and you'll meet him there.
Better and better. All right then, I'm heading there straight away.
How I do enjoy gameplay variety.
Oh, the next level is corporate partying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Get ready for the most in-depth, complex, tactical corporate party you've ever seen in a video game. And that's what'll happen next time. We're going to Japan. We're gonna make Yakuza jokes, and it's gonna be a good time.
Beautiful.
But first, I mean, it will be a good time eventually. First, we have a party to go to. I don't know whether this version of Lara would really be into social events. It seems more like she has a socialite front that she puts on.
That's her Bruce Wayne, and the tomb raiding is her Batman.
Yes, that's a perfect analogy, actually. Yeah, that's great. And we will see whether our theories are confirmed next time.